Okay, thank you very much for your patience. And so I'm Bernard Montel. I'm the technical director for Tenable in EMEA. And today I want to talk about AI. So I think everyone is talking about AI. So you're certainly wondering what I will talking about. And so I will skip the first part of the presentation because I don't want you to be late for the next session. So let's go straight forward to the agenda. Everybody knows that the AI adoption is very, very high, and which is one of the worst, one of the highest adoption in the industry since decades. And because of that, that is also creating a lot of security issues. So I will cover that with you today and how Tenable can really cover the weaknesses, the vulnerabilities and the exposures attached to AI adoption. For that, we've done a study and we have published a report specifically around the use of AI within cloud infrastructures. And that will be the second part of that presentation. And at the end of the presentation, I will cover as well how do we help organizations to be able to understand their AI footprint and the exposures attached to it. Because we were running late, I will go very quickly to a couple of elements. Number one, more than 55% of organizations today are using AI. I want to make just a poll here. Who is using AI weekly? Who is using AI daily? Same persons. Okay, thanks. So you're part of that. Number two, when we talk about AI today, I'm guessing the answer was Gen AI. I'm not sure you're using machine learning yourself. Machine learning is also very, widely deployed, but that's embedded into the technology. When we talk about AI today, we talk about Gen AI. 47% of organizations have started their own AI project. And that will be the focus of the study we've done, and which is published already for the past couple of months, about how organizations are running their own LLM project, Gen AI project, and how they do it, and what are the risks associated to it. So 47 of those organizations have already in-house Gen AI project. Part of the Tenable study, and you will get that because this is fully publicly available, 60% of them, by default, they are using Azure, which is the top one of those cloud providers within AI use. But if you look down, most of them are also using multi-cloud, which means sometimes we need AI for a specific purpose. And some of those cloud providers, if you want to run your own AI project. When I say AI here, it's not only Gen AI, it's still half machine learning or deep learning or also LLM. For your information, I've got a son, which is an engineering today. And last week, he was developing a machine learning system on the cloud using a set of open source packages for a hackathon, which is a race to be able to find some pattern within financial institutions and financial data. It was nice because we chat about it yesterday, and then you say, what do you do? What have you done? You say, it's easy. There is a set of open source packages I'm using, and I'm running that into the cloud of my school. So that's exactly what the organizations are trying to do today. So what are the challenges today? One of the challenges on the left-hand side is what we call shadow AI. What about all of those services, all of those technologies, from Microsoft Companion, from Google with the plugins, from the chat that you're using, from any kind of technology today that you are using daily, because some of you have raised your hands, but you don't even know that is using AI. potentially as security practitioners or CISO, if you have CISO in the room here, you need to know that, because you need to know what kind of technologies your employees within your organizations are using, embedding AI. So that is a first risk. Unknown vulnerabilities attached to those technologies because you don't even know that those technologies are used by your employees within an organization. And the second challenge is exactly what I was talking about, which is, model security. Your developers, because you are you're asking them to develop those AI projects, they are using many kind of models. But what if those technologies as well have some misconfigurations or vulnerabilities attached to it? I will cover that in the second part of that presentation. So we've done a study, asking hundreds of organizations about how they use their own AI project and what kind of technology do they have. So I want to show you the result of that study into a couple of dimensions. Number one, first we need to have what we call an inventory. We need to know what technologies are used by your developers when it is about, starting to develop LLM and Gen AI or machine learning project. Okay, that's what I asked my son, yesterday. What have you done? Okay, what kind of technology have you deployed? So 100% of those projects are running in the cloud. I don't know any organization. I know a couple of them in very, defense industry or governments that they decided to do that on-prem, but they need to have a huge power. Okay, most of the organizations, 99% of organizations, are running workloads of AI projects in the cloud. Number two, they need training data and test data. The training data is to train the model, and the test data is to find if your development is relevant, accurate. And we talk about false positive, we talk about false negative, we talk about accuracy, which is how much your development is accurate based on the training model and the test model before running that in production. And last but not least, we're also using a set of technologies. Most of them are open source. So what have we found? I'm pretty sure you already play with that if you have some children, so if you are still quite young. This is Jenga. So first of all, like any technology, they have vulnerabilities. It's not because it's brand new, it's not because it's AI that we don't have vulnerabilities. Second of all, keep in mind that we're talking about data, and we're talking about big data. If you don't train your LLM project with a huge amount of information, that won't be accurate. You will have a lot of false positive. So what about public access to those data? Number three, what about privileges of those services? Who has access? Only the developers? What are the default access? And then any kind of misconfigurations, like any kind of services, any kind of technology. When we put everything together, there is a big risk. And that risk for us is a risk of toxic combinations. What is a toxic combinations? If you have 2 to 3 of them on the same service combined together. In this case, you're putting your whole project at risk, but what is more important than the data attached to it. You know what I mean, and I'm pretty sure you understand the rest of the presentation, which is that as a result. We call that the Jenga concept. Jenga is the name of that game, which is what if you have one service embedded, completely hidden in those set of packages, which is having a vulnerability or a misconfiguration or overprivilege or all of them. This is just an example. We don't have anything against Google. We don't have anything against Google. But that is just a Vertex AI. You know how I generated that picture? With Gen AI. But as an example, what we found is 77% of the organizations have at least one workload using Vertex AI with overprivileged account. Only one. But that is enough to get access to the whole services and then the data. Again, nothing against Google here. Amazon. Amazon has a service called SageMaker. Same. AI service. Package out of the box. 90% of those services have root access by default. If you don't know that, please check if you're using that technology and check if somewhere, and that is the issue, because sometimes you don't even know where to find it, you have a root access. What about critical vulnerabilities? In that study, because we are the leader in vulnerability management, we can compare critical vulnerabilities in AI technologies compared to classical technologies. And we have a big gap. Why? Because people are running AI very fast. There is a lot of pressures to organizations to make those projects working. They don't care about the technology at the first instance. They care about false positive. They care about training data. They care about making these AI projects working. That's why today, based on all of the other technologies we are looking after vulnerabilities and the AI vulnerabilities specifically, we have a gap of 20%. That is just one example. I just mentioned, for example, open source packages. This is a Python open source package with the critical vulnerabilities for last year, and still a lot of organizations still have it. The impact of that one will be able to give access to the API of the project directly, meaning access to the data again. And again, this is the last one from the study. We have many other results. I only wanted to highlight you 3 or 4, which is 14% of organizations are not checking a simple option called block public access within Amazon Bedrock, which is yet another package from AI, Amazon. But, that exists. You can block public access. But 14% of organizations are not doing it. So why they don't do it? Because they don't have that visibility. They don't have that knowledge. And it's super complex. Because all of those services I presented in the Google Vertex, this is the same for Amazon, this is the same for Microsoft and the others. They are all embedded. They are all nested. It's like the Russian's puppet. You don't know which one at the end of the day, is used. And some of them are reused. For example, the service I just presented in Vertex AI, it's just a runtime service. This runtime service is used by many other services within Google Cloud. But the AI service is also using it. But you don't know it. So first of all, you need to know. You need to understand all of those nested services. And that's what we do at Tenable with what we call exposure management. Exposure management is a concept of the evolution of vulnerability management. Try to understand everything within the attack surface. So there is 3 use cases I will show you today. One is discover the AI within your organization. Number 2, now that you understand it, how can we find those vulnerabilities and fix it, or the misconfiguration, or the privileges? And number 3 is how to use it. So at Tenable, we're not having discovered AI a year ago. We did that 10 years ago. We have, a data science team which is developing, machine learning for many years now. Okay. So we have 40+ patents around specifically data analytics. And we have, all in all, combined more than 50 years of experience in cybersecurity. When I talked about exposure management, it's everything you can do before having a breach. And that is what we call the proactive security. I go quick on that because we've been late. I want to show you a couple of use cases. We have a platform called Tenable One, and recently we've announced that this platform can be open to third-party data. If you know us already with Tenable One and exposure management, if you have missed that information that has been published last week, today Tenable One can inject not only Tenable information, but also third-party data. But let's go back to AI. What do we do on AI today? We have a use case with our traditional vulnerability management solution called AI Aware. We are using our scanners and the plugins and the classical technology that we have and you potentially are using for decades, finding those AI solutions and software. The famous use case around shadow AI. And the second use case is what about in the cloud? So very quickly, because we are a little bit late, AI Aware, if you are already a Tenable vulnerability management customer, is 100% available for you without anything, without any license. It's there, it's just a classical scanner and the plugin associated to it that can discover for you any kind of AI software and the vulnerabilities attached to it in your network. And as you can see here, for example, we are updating the plugins. This is DeepSeek. I'm pretty sure you heard about that technology. And we can detect that if some of your employees are using it. AI SPM is AI Security Posture Management, and that is about cloud. And that's part of our cloud security solution. We have a CNAPP. If you're looking for an alternative for a CNAPP solution, keep in mind that Tenable has a solution called Tenable Cloud Security. And the AI SPM is one of the use cases of Tenable Cloud Security. And again, first of all, inventory. Detect and find any kind of service you have in your cloud. Whatever there are, service running, workloads, buckets, data, we find everything. We found misconfiguration and identity misconfiguration as well. When it is about AI specifically, this is just a sub-use case of our whole Tenable Cloud Security platform. And for that one specifically, going back to the use case I just talked about, finding those AI Vertex, Bedrock, and SageMaker. In this case specifically, we look after all of the inventory, and that is multi-cloud. So you don't have to have solutions in your own cloud provider. We combine everything, and we can discover for you all of those AI projects that are already in the hands of your developers. And we can also find if there is, for example, misconfiguration. And this one particularly is around identities. Overprivilege, those root access that I was mentioning, those access that you don't even know that someone has access to the public data and the toxic combinations. So that's what we do. That is called AI SPM, and that's part of the Tenable Cloud Security solution within our exposure management strategy. I will go quick on that because you certainly know it. We also use AI. I said we have, 20 plus data scientists. We are calculating vulnerability exposure. We are doing our own data science around the vulnerability. We are not only relying on CVSS, we do scoring, we do machine learning, and that is one element of that. And then last, because I really want to be on time, is we also have embedded our own LLM project for helping our customers and security practitioners to understand when we detect, for example, an attack path, and that's what we do with Tenable One exposure management platform, sometimes it's very complex. The toxic combination I just mentioned, which is using a vulnerability, a misconfiguration, and an overprivileged identity, sometimes it's difficult to understand. So what we do is we have, terabytes of data and, trillions of entry points, and that is the history of Tenable. We have that knowledge. We have a research team which has a huge amount of information. So that database has been given access to our customers and to the technology. So we ask our data lake, hey, can you explain to me what it is? Because sometimes, it's a set of, remote control and Active Directory misconfiguration and identity. It could be a vulnerability onto an endpoint that give you access to a cloud, data. And that is sometimes complex to understand. It's a chain. That chain can, be using many sources of information. And now that we have opened the platform to third-party sources, we also get the EDR data. We get, ServiceNow information. We get a lot of information. So AI is super important for us as well to help our customers with our own LLM engine. That's what I wanted to share with you. The study is fully available. If you want to get much more about the data that we have published, you can download it. I don't know if you will get access to that, but if you go to our website, I get access to the presentation, but if you go to our website, you will get the URL to get it. Any questions? I know we were running late because I had a lot of issues this morning technically, the same than yesterday, by the way. But if you have any questions, our booth is just there. Here, right, go out, and on the first right, you have the booth of Tenable. We have plenty of experts, including cloud security experts if you want. If you have any questions, do we have any time for now for 1 or 2 questions? Nope. Otherwise, have a good day.